Today I am doing a Q&A. It is a themed one, and you guys, as always, made a lot of good suggestions. The one that I picked and the one that we're gonna do is being alternative in Stockholm, or Sweden, where I live. And you guys have asked questions both on Facebook and Instagram, so let's get to it. And there was a lot of repetition this time, so I'm not gonna keep answering the same questions over and over again. And I also just want to remind you guys that I do have a Q&A playlist here on YouTube, which features all of my previous Q&A videos, if you're curious about those. Let's get started. Anlish says, how are you taking care of your boots in winter with snow involved? What's the best place to buy autumn winter wear? Yeah, so Sweden, as I'm sure most of you know, is a cold country or colder country. Like Scandinavia is way up north. And we don't have polar bears or anything, but it does get pretty cold here during the winters, and our summers are not crazy warm either. So yeah, you gotta put some clothes on to stay warm. How I take care of my boots? Honestly, I'm one of those people who don't really take care of my boots. I know people who like oil their boots and spray them with protective spray and like all kinds of stuff. I don't really do that, but so far it's been okay. I guess they can be like salt damaged and stuff because they salt the roads to get rid of the snow and stuff. But honestly, I haven't really had that much issue with it. I'm not a crazy big fan of snow, so I don't go like jumping around in the shit unless I have to. I used to do that when I was younger, but now because of my fucked up neck and stuff, I'm kind of scared to move around at all. That's not true. Alternative autumn winter wear might be tricky to get. Like I have a hell bunny coat that's great for winter. I have a jacket that is like big and black and fluffy. It's kind of like a sheep looking, but it's not made from wool. It's faux, but it's like sheepish looking black and warm, and it's from Shock, which I will talk more about that store later. For me, winter is more about staying warm than looking fashionable or whatever, so I don't really give a fuck about the brands and stuff. I just want to stay warm. Head Up Heart Strong wants to know, how does it feel being the one and only amazing alternative human in Sweden? See, that's just... I love you, but that's just not true. There are so many awesome alternative peeps here in Sweden. I follow a bunch of them here on Instagram and in other social media channels as well, and I'm not alone, let me tell you. It's awesome. And Kathy Cat says, did someone ever walk over to you only to say something mean because of your looks? Yeah, it's happened once or twice. It's not crazy common for me, and I'm gonna get back to that later again because there are gonna be more questions on this topic. But yeah, once or twice maybe. Assholes are everywhere, so you're never safe from them, I guess. And like as a kid I was bullied and stuff, so obviously it happened then. But yeah, I've been pretty fortunate to not have it happen that often. Rachel Dilly says, really random, but you've inspired me to learn Swedish. Yay! And I've been doing it since January now. My question is, do you have any tips on learning pronunciation? I'm a native Swede, so I can't even imagine what it's like to try to learn Swedish as an outsider or whatever. It's a tricky language, I think. I think if you're native to the US or to the UK, getting rid of that American or English accent is the most difficult. If you're American, the R's might be really tricky to get rid of because we say R, like a ringing R, instead of R, we say R. So ring, like my ring, is called ring in Swedish. So ring, not ring. That kind of thing can be difficult to learn because you have to learn to use your tongue like that. And a lot of people can't do that at first because they've been saying R instead of R all their lives. And the ringing R is one of the most difficult letters or whatever to learn as a Swede as well. A lot of kids, when they grow up, they struggle with their R's and with their S's. I struggled with my R's. I said I instead of R when I was a kid, and when I was 4, one morning I just woke up like this and I got it. So it's hard, even for native Swedes. Call Me Crash Tennyson says, are there alternative clothing stores in Sweden, or do you have to do all of your shopping online? Does international shipping cost a lot? And I'm fortunate enough to be living in the capital, which is Stockholm. Here we have a bunch of them. And there are a couple in Gothenburg and other towns as well. But if you live in a smaller town, it can be really difficult. But you have online shops in Sweden as well. If you don't feel like you have to go into a physical shop, there are online shops in Sweden. And obviously I order from abroad as well, a lot from the UK, and I order stuff from eBay. And yeah, I don't buy that many items of clothing from the US because shipping is a freaking bitch, and taxes, and yeah. From the UK, it's totally fine. Like, I bought my boots recently from them, and it still was cheaper than it would have been to go into a store here in Sweden to get it. So sometimes it's actually beneficial to buy from abroad. But we do have stores here in Sweden that sell alternative clothing. And again, I'm going to get back to that because I have more questions like that coming up. Ellie Harvey 2017 says, do you ever find you get discriminated against for being alternative more so living in Sweden? Definitely not more so, I wouldn't say. I mean, no. Swedes, like native Swedes, are very private. I've talked about this before. Not shy, but we like minding our own business, if that makes sense. So Swedes will sit like alone on the bus, like single seats, be taken all over. We don't sit next to strangers unless we have to, and if we do not start conversations. I'm speaking generally now, obviously. So I get a lot of looks, but I don't get a lot of mean comments. The comments that I do get are usually positive, which is very awesome. Obviously, sometimes people can't shut their fucking mouths. Usually it's kids going like, oh my god, she looks so weird, she thinks it's Halloween, or whatever it may be. Kids are assholes, so what are you gonna do about it? There have been rare occasions where grown-ups have said mean shit to me, but it really doesn't happen very often. I think partly because we are very private as Swedes, but also because I do live in the capital and there are a lot of alternative people here, so people are generally used to it. Like, we have a lot of diversity here. That doesn't mean that there won't always be assholes, though. Like, they'll pop up wherever you go. Jen D. Shepherd says, you seem to do a fair amount of traveling. Do you find the alternative lifestyle to be more widely accepted in Sweden than elsewhere, or is there somewhere in particular that you felt more accepted? I felt really at home in Germany, for instance. I've talked about this before as well. I would love to live in Berlin for like a year. I might do that at some point. I don't know. I have some friends who live there, and I love that city, and I felt really at home there. I don't travel crazy much. I don't have that kind of money to do it. It would be fun to do it, but so I don't really have that much to compare to. People have been pretty accepting. I don't know if I'm just fortunate or if people are better than most people think. I don't know if Sweden is more diverse or more accepting than any other country. If I have any Swedish followers watching this video, could you put your experiences on the subject in the comments below? I would love to know how other people feel about this kind of stuff. MellyB1991 says, is the alternative punk gothic something you see often walking down the street? Is the fashion portion of these movements so ingrained in the culture that people don't look twice? And question 2, do people misjudge alternative people as not having proper jobs or professions? These are not my feelings, and I absolutely love you and your channel. Love you too. Okay, so the first question, yeah, we're kind of all over the place, and it is socially acceptable here. It's maybe the more extreme alternative styles that you don't see as often. Like, as a punk, I do see fellow punks pretty often. But then a lot of people, I have the fortune to be able to look like myself all the time because I run my own business and I decide what the fuck I look like. I know a lot of people have to dress down or tone down a lot for work. Some people might have to cover up tattoos or hide piercings. So, a lot of alternative people will blend in with the normies during the day. So you don't always know that you're walking past an alternative person. It's quite common, but it's not like we're taking over or anything like that. As alternative fashion has become more mainstream, or certain parts of alternative fashion, I should say, I think people are getting more used to it, and normies are using more and more alternative inspired fashion, and we're all kind of blending together a little bit, and that doesn't bother me. Everybody should do their own thing. So the people that really, really stand out are those with really extreme alternative styles. But people still look twice, obviously. Not everybody accepts it, and not everybody sees it every day. Being misjudged on your style, that happens everywhere. Some people might not be able to get a job based on what they look like because the person that's hiring them or the company is very strict about that kind of stuff. It still happens here. I think it's pure bullshit. You're not selling yourself, you're selling whatever the company sells. You should be able to do your job looking like whatever, it doesn't matter. Society should accept everybody. Erin Yara says, have you ever been rejected for looking the way you do, in public places or something? It's Black Friday, was not allowed to visit the Louvre because she was in full goth garment. That has actually never happened to me. I don't know if I just don't generally want to visit places like that. Not specifically the Louvre, but places where they don't accept everyone. Kind of don't really do it for me anyway, so that's probably why. So no, I've never been thrown out of a club or been like, stop, you can't go in here because we have a dress code. That's never happened to me. But that might be, again, because I don't have an interest in going to those kinds of places. Izzy says, what do you love about Stockholm's alternative society? I love that it's very friendly. Like whenever we go to the fetish clubs and stuff, people are so sweet and happy, and it's very trusting, and it's like a big family of people that you don't know, and you feel safe, and I really love that. There's a mutual respect within the alternative community, and like no matter if you're goth or punk or Lolita or whatever it is, that's why I could do the alternative market thing that I did earlier this year and that I'm going to do again. Because I like the idea of mixing people together from different alternative genres or subcultures. You don't have to look exactly the same. And I just love that. I don't know if that's, again, like specific to Sweden, but I'll see a lot of mixed alternative styles when I go out and stuff. And I really like that. Izzy also wants me to name 3 of my favorite clothing stores located in Stockholm. My number 1 favorite is Shock, or Shock Store. It is Sweden's largest alternative chain. They exist in Stockholm, in Gothenburg, and in Malmö, which is down south. They have a great selection of stuff. They're fast with the upkeep of getting new things and great brands and high quality, and they're just, yeah, they're phenomenal. So I really like them. I also really like Blue Fox, which I have mentioned in previous videos. I did the hair coloring video with them, and I did the like trying on different clothes kind of thing in their shop. That shop has been around for over 30 years, which is pretty cool. So it's the first alternative shop in Sweden, so you gotta respect that. They don't have as much new stuff as Shock does, but they have a lot of great things still. You can get your like hair dyes and stuff there, and clothing and stuff. Obviously you can get that at Shock too, but yeah. I would say that Blue Fox is more old school, and it's kind of more towards metal. They have a lot of like printed t-shirts and stuff like that. And Shock is more towards like trendy alternative, if that makes sense. Like they have a lot of Killstar things, for instance. And a third store, I really like a shop called Punktshoppen, which means the dot shop. They sell basically accessories for alternative people. So they have a lot of piercing jewelry, very cheap usually, which is good, like crazy factory prices. And they sell like bandanas, patches, chokers, belts, scarves, things like that. So they don't sell full-on clothing. Well, they do have t-shirts, but like other than that, they don't sell full-on clothing. And I really like that store for when you need those accessories. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your names right, by the way, as always. Kasenhi says, what was the nicest and worst reaction to your look? Do you think that bigger cities are different than small towns when it comes to tolerance? Do you think alternative people can easily find a job, or is it more difficult for them? The nicest reaction, I get a lot of positive feedback, again. And I get a lot of stuff from older people, like usually older ladies. They're like, oh shit, your hair is so cool. I wish I could do that. And I'm like, yeah, can. That's always fun. Or kids who think that my hair is funny, or like, oh shit, I had the sweetest little girl. Me and Gaston were on the bus the other day, and this little girl in the front was like, whoa, just like eyeing me up and down with her mom, and they were talking about me. And as they were about to get off, the mom said to me, I don't know if you heard this, but my daughter thinks you're the most amazingly beautiful woman she's ever seen, and she wants to look exactly like you when she grows up. And I was like, fuck, your daughter's gonna be an awesome punk, yes! I just really love that. That made my day. That happened just last week, actually. And worst reaction, I had a person throw an egg on me once. I don't know if that was because of the way I look, or just they were just generally throwing. I didn't see them before. I just felt the egg, and then I just saw somebody run off. Sometimes people in bigger cities are more tolerant than people in smaller cities, but sometimes it's completely reverse. I think generally you have more diversity in a larger city because you generally have more people. But that doesn't mean that all of them are accepting and just naturally awesome just because they live in a big city. I had a lot of people be super nice to me in small cities as well, but I did grow up in a small town and I wasn't really accepted because I was different. So I've seen kind of both sides of it. But if it is diversity that you're after and like having access to more alternative things, then yeah, the big cities are better. Depending on the profession that you've chosen, it might not be more difficult to find a job because you're alternative, because they might not give a fuck. But for some professions, it might be impossible to get a job because you're alternative. Like, they won't let you wear piercings, or they won't let you show tattoos, or whatever it may be. So it all depends on what kind of work you want to do. But there are occupations where it's actually beneficial to stand out and be alternative, which I was told repeatedly when I went to makeup school. People will remember you. If you're just a blah gray mouse, people won't remember you just simply by looking at you. You have to work really hard at making them remember you for who you are. You have a little help if you look alternative, because people automatically remember your appearance, but then you also have to prove like your worth and stuff, obviously. But having a look that stands out can be beneficial in certain professions. Yeah, definitely. Sunshine Jason Giles says, do you follow anyone in Sweden that inspires your style? Yeah, I follow a bunch of Swedish alternative people that I get inspiration from regarding style and other things as well. I would say maybe that my number one source of inspiration here in Sweden is Emily Pollution. She is a fantastic fellow punk sister with a big ass mohawk. I really like her. She's very sweet. She's a badass. And she really knows how to put together these awesome outfits. So she's a big inspiration. So you should totally go look up Emily Pollution on Instagram, because damn. SG Widge says, where are the alt gigs and the clubs? That's one of the downsides to Sweden right now. A couple of years ago, there were a lot of alternative clubs and fun places to go to. And right now, it is very limiting. The fetish thing that we go to a couple of times every year is the most alternative thing we have right now, and that only happens a couple of times every year, and we don't go to each one of them either. Regular alternative clubs, they don't have as many of those anymore. You have to go to gigs kind of instead, and I don't know what the fuck happened. Like, if everybody just got old and we don't do that clubbing thing anymore, and there are no baby bats to fill the spots. I don't know what's going on. I miss it so much. There used to be so many fabulous clubs. There was this club called Tech Noir. Oh my god. Oh, I love that place. It was so great. Everybody looked so fab. They were so nice. The music was awesome. But it's not available anymore. And now everything that is available is in a smaller scale. Like, I want to go out with a lot of my friends, look fabulous, and dance and stuff. And the only place I can do that right now is at gigs. I have a friend who's a DJ. She arranges these amazing gigs. Like, she got aesthetic perfection to freaking come to Stockholm and play. So she's awesome. Like, anything she puts on is great. But it's still, like, gigs. I love gigs. Like, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of great punk gigs and stuff here in town, too. But I just want to, like, separate those two. Because at a gig, I want to, like, jump around and look and listen at the people on stage. But if it's like a club and somebody's DJing, then I can just dance around and not be as focused. Like, those are two completely different things. So I guess we're more about hanging out at home or going out for beers and stuff now, which is kind of sad. My friend Lynn wants to know what my favorite alternative shop is. She's so funny. It's Shock, and she actually works there now, so yeah. I love her and I love that shop. Samantha Louise Bro, sorry Samantha, I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, wants to know if there are any tourist recommendations of interesting cultural spots in the city. If you are an alternative and you're a tourist in Stockholm, I would recommend going to Söder, which is the southern part of the inner city. That is where most alternative things occur, where you have most of your gigs and your clubs and the people generally. I also recommend Old Town to anyone, alternative or not. I really love that place. It's just, the atmosphere is so beautiful. We have these cave-like bars and pubs and stuff and restaurants, and it's just amazing. I love our amusement park, which is called Gröna Lund. That's not specifically for alternative people. Like, we don't have specifically alternative, there's stuff that people can enjoy here, I guess. But in general, yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff to do here. I love this city. And it's on the water. Like, there's water everywhere here. It's so beautiful. Taylor Manette says, I know there's a lot of neat festivals and celebrations in Sweden that allow alternative people to get really dressed up. What are some you've been to? We've got nothing like that here in Canada. The only one I can remember the name of is Elfia. Have you been to that one? I've never heard of Elfia, and I've never been to Elfia. It sounds like fun, but it might be something that takes place up north. And I'm pointing in this direction. That's not north. North is actually that way. Yeah. But yeah, so that might be why I haven't been to it. But alternative festivals here in Sweden, I went to the Subcult Festival here in Sweden earlier this year, which I made a video on, which was fun. That was the first time I did that. And that's a smaller scale kind of festival. I've been to a rock and metal festival before, which is called Getaway. We did camping then, and I don't like camping, so like we changed into a hotel after a couple of nights because it was muddy and shit. There are a lot of festivals. I haven't been to that many of them though. One of the great ones that's not around anymore was called Arvika Festivalen, and it's called Arvika because the city where it was held was called Arvika. It was like the synth EBM kind of awesome festival, like Comic Christ and Discrimination played there the year I went there. And it was awesome. I missed that festival, but they started to mix the styles too much and bring in other kind of genres of music, and it didn't fit the target group anymore, so people stopped going and they had to call bankruptcy. So yeah, it's not around anymore. And the final question, I've touched on this a little bit, but I'm going to do it anyway. Emmy Lake says, is it easy to be yourself there? For me, I've had the fortune of being able to be myself my entire adult life here, and yeah, it's been great. Again, there are random assholes, but that has very little to do with the city in itself. Generally, I would say that I have mostly positive experiences of living in Stockholm and Sweden. I really like it here. There are some things, like politically going on, that are kind of scary right now, like the right wings are starting to take over and shit. That's happening all over the world, though, not just here. But yeah, I know people who have moved to Sweden from other countries who expected it to be a lot more awesome and expecting than they've found it to be. I think that's just one of those things. Like, Sweden is marketed as such an prosperous, equal, awesome place to be, and a lot of the time it is, but that's not what happens all the time. Like, we have a lot of discrimination and issues and racism and all kinds of bullshit here too, and Sweden is often portrayed as this little utopia, which it's not really. I mean, utopia doesn't exist, obviously. Again, I have been fortunate enough to not be directly affected by things like that, on a greater level at least. I can't speak for all of Sweden, obviously. I can only speak from my perspective, and yeah. Sorry if you had a question that wasn't featured. The only reason I skipped some of them, again, was because they were a little bit repetitive. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye!